I can still hear the echo of laughter, high-pitched, wild, and free, drifting from the backyard. The Ferris wheel lights are fading now, softening into little bruises of color against the night sky. My daughter, Lily, is finally asleep upstairs, her face still streaked with glitter and frosting. I should feel proud. I mean, I just spent $4,383 on a backyard carnival. The carousel, the balloon artist, even a popcorn stand that smelled like pure childhood. It was perfect. Or at least I thought it was. Now, standing here in my kitchen, barefoot, my silk blouse untucked and sticking slightly to my skin, I open the cake box for one last look before tossing it. And that's when I see it, again. Congratulations. The word is frozen in pink icing. Just that. Nothing else. It's strange, right? The cake was supposed to say, "Happy 6th birthday, Lily." I trace the frosting with my finger, and for a second, I forget to breathe. Because I know that handwriting. The sharp curls of the C. The way the T never quite crosses. My chest tightens. That cake didn't come from any random bakery. It came from her bakery. And suddenly, I'm 23 again, broke, scared, holding a positive pregnancy test and a suitcase that didn't even have a handle. The word congratulations isn't a mistake. It's a ghost. And it just found me again. I was 23 the night my life cracked open. The kind of night where silence weighs heavier than words, when even your heartbeat feels too loud. I remember standing in my parents' kitchen, the pregnancy test shaking in my hand. My mother's eyes stayed on the floor, as if refusing to look at the truth would somehow erase it. My father didn't yell, he didn't need to. The disappointment in his silence did the damage for him. "You've made your choice, Grace," he said finally. "So you can live with it." No one asked me how I felt. No one offered to help. They just watched as I packed a single duffel bag, toothbrush, one pair of jeans, my planner, and a half-eaten pack of granola bars and walked out. It was raining that night. The kind of cold rain that makes you feel invisible. I didn't have a plan. I just kept walking until I found myself standing in front of a small bakery with a flickering, open sign. The smell of sugar and butter spilled out every time the door opened. I must have looked half drowned when an older woman, gray hair tucked under a pink kerchief, pushed the door open. "Sweetheart, come in before you melt," she said. Her name was Mrs. Delaney. She handed me a towel and a cup of tea that smelled like vanilla and cinnamon. When I told her I was looking for a job, any job, she didn't ask for a resume. She pointed toward the sink full of dishes. "Start there," she smiled. "And don't cry in the dough. It makes the bread sad." That night, after closing, she wrapped up a small loaf of sweet bread and tucked it into my bag. "You don't owe me anything," she said softly. "Just remember this. The recipe for peace isn't what you lose, Grace. It's what you learn to make for yourself." I didn't know it then, but that sentence would become the backbone of my life. Because when everyone else saw a mistake, Mrs. Delaney saw a beginning. And standing in that little bakery, surrounded by the hum of ovens and the scent of rising dough, I decided I'd build something of my own. Something no one could take away from me. Not even the people who gave me life. If you told that scared 23-year-old girl washing bakery trays at midnight that she'd one day run her own company, she would have laughed. Or cried. Maybe both. But that's where it started, among flour-dusted counters and the hum of old ovens. Mrs. Delaney's bakery became more than a job. It was a classroom. I learned how to knead dough and balance invoices, how to calm a fussy customer and stretch a dollar so far it squeaked. When my daughter Lily was born, Mrs. Delaney was the first to hold her. She looked down at that tiny, pink bundle and whispered, "See? You're already creating something beautiful." I worked through exhaustion, taking orders, baking cupcakes with one hand while rocking Lily's bassinet with the other. We lived in a studio apartment that smelled like sugar and baby powder, the kind of place where success wasn't even a dream, just survival. But one afternoon, as I set up a dessert table for a local kid's birthday party, a woman asked who organized it. When I said it was me, she blinked. "You should do this professionally," she said. "You've got an eye." It was such a small comment, but it stuck. So I started taking notes, saving photos of event setups, learning about tents, lighting, color palettes. I couldn't afford classes, so I watched tutorials at night while Lily slept on my chest. My first real gig came from a flyer I taped to a coffee shop window. It said, "Affordable Events by Grace, where every moment feels magical." I charged $120 for that job and underdelivered by every business standard, but the family cried happy tears when they saw their backyard transformed with dollar store streamers and homemade cupcakes. And that reaction, it lit something in me. Within a year, word spread. By Lily's third birthday, I had my own business license, a borrowed van, and a name. Luna Moments, after my daughter, because she was my moonlight in the dark. But I kept my success quiet. No big social media posts, no calls home. My parents had made it clear they didn't believe in me, and I wasn't going to beg them to. I learned to stay humble but sharp. I made connections, learned negotiation, saved every extra dollar, reinvested it into equipment. Some nights I'd sit on the floor surrounded by receipts, Lily asleep beside me, and whisper, "We're going to be okay." And slowly we were. My first big break came when a local children's hospital asked me to organize their charity carnival. I poured everything I had into it: bright colors, handmade banners, a carousel I rented for half price. It was a success. After that, Luna Moments took off. Still, every invoice, every contract, I signed it quietly. Because a part of me still feared hearing my father's voice in my head saying, "You'll come running back when it all falls apart." But I never did. Instead, I built a world where my daughter could laugh freely, a world I'd pay for with my own two hands. And that world cost exactly $4,383 one Saturday afternoon. When I decided to throw Lily's 6th birthday, I wanted it to be perfect, not extravagant, just magical. But somehow, magic got expensive fast. The bounce house, the carousel, the magician with a questionable mustache, it all added up. Still, watching Lily twirl under the string lights, her laughter blending with the carnival music, I didn't regret a cent. Then I saw them. My parents, standing at the edge of the yard like they weren't sure they were allowed to come in. I hadn't invited them directly, my cousin did, thinking she was doing me a favor. My chest tightened, but I forced a smile.
"Mom, Dad."
"Hi." My mother's eyes scanned the decorations, the staff, the uniformed helpers with the Luna Moments logo embroidered on their shirts. "You planned all this?" she asked, her voice unsure. I nodded. "Yeah, it's what I do." My father looked around, taking it all in, the mini Ferris wheel spinning in the background, the soft-serve machine humming, the laughter echoing through the warm air. "This must have cost a fortune," he muttered. $4,383, I said without hesitation. "Worth every penny." He gave a small, surprised laugh, the first I'd heard from him in years. "You always did have a stubborn streak. Guess I put it to good use." We walked together through the backyard, Lily running up with cotton candy, tugging my father's sleeve like she'd known him forever. My mother crouched to hug her, and I could see her shoulders trembling. Later, when the guests were gone and the music had quieted, I brought the cake out from the kitchen. The one that said, "Congratulations." Mom frowned. "That's not the right message, is it?" Dad leaned closer. "Congratulations for what?" And I just stood there, staring at the pink frosting, my throat tightening. "It's from Mrs. Delaney's bakery," I said softly. The name meant nothing to them, but everything to me. I told them about the night I left, about the woman who gave me shelter, a towel, and a purpose, about washing dishes with trembling hands and finding dignity in doing something small, well. My father looked down at his shoes. My mother covered her mouth with her hand. When I finished, I said quietly, "I didn't invite you because I wanted to show off. I just wanted you to see what I became without you." For a long moment, no one spoke. The silence stretched, awkward, heavy, almost unbearable. Then Lily's voice broke it. "Grandma, can you help me blow out the candles?" My mother's eyes glistened. She nodded, walking over to Lily. My father stayed beside me, hands in his pockets. "You built all this," he said finally, "without anyone's help." I smiled, a small, Tired smile. Not without anyone. Mrs. Delaney helped. Lily helped. Life helped. He nodded, his eyes softening for the first time in years. When Lily blew out her candles, the crowd, what was left of it, clapped. I felt something inside me ease, like a long-held breath finally exhaled. As the night thinned out and the string lights dimmed, I caught sight of the cake again. That strange, unfinished word glowing faintly in the soft light. Congratulations. And for the first time, I realized maybe it wasn't unfinished at all. Maybe that dash meant continuing. Because I wasn't done. Not as a mother. Not as a woman. Not as the girl who walked out in the rain and learned how to build her own sunshine. It was quiet after the guests left. The smell of popcorn still lingered in the air, the grass damp from spilled soda, tiny balloons half deflated across the yard. Lily was inside watching her new stuffed unicorn dance on TV, her laughter echoing faintly through the screen door. My parents stayed behind, hovering near the porch. The tension between us felt different now, not sharp, but heavy. The kind of silence that comes before something important is said. My father finally spoke first. Grace, I owe you an apology. I blinked. I had imagined that moment 1,000 times, but never thought I'd actually hear it. He looked older, not just in wrinkles, but in regret. When you left, I thought I was doing the right thing. I thought letting you struggle would make you stronger. I didn't realize you already were. My throat tightened, but I stayed still. He turned to the yard, to the glowing string lights, the faded carnival colors, the proof of my independence hanging in the warm air. You didn't need us, he said quietly. I did, I said. Just not the version of you that couldn't believe in me. My mother's eyes shimmered with tears. She reached for my hand, her voice shaking. We were wrong, Grace. We were scared. We thought protecting you meant controlling you. I squeezed her hand gently. I know. And I forgive you. But things can't go back to how they were. She nodded, looking down. What do you want from us now? That was the question. The one I'd been waiting for. I took a deep breath and answered. I don't want anything from you. I want something with you. They both looked up. If you want to be in our lives, in Lily's life, then it has to be different this time. No criticism, no silent judgment, no pretending I'm someone you can fix. Just honesty, love, and effort. My father nodded slowly. We can do that. And one more thing, I added. If you ever tell Lily she can't do something, that she's not enough, or that she'll fail, I'll remind you of tonight. I'll remind you who taught her to dream. There was no anger in my voice. Just truth. The kind that doesn't need to shout to be heard. My mother stepped closer, brushing a loose strand of hair from my face like she used to when I was a child. You've become such a strong woman, Grace. No, I said softly, smiling through the tears. I just finally learned how to raise myself. They both laughed, that broken, healing kind of laughter that feels like letting go. And for the first time, we stood together, not as enemies or strangers, but as people learning how to start over. The balance had shifted. Not out of revenge. Out of growth. The night ended the way all good things do, quietly. The carnival lights flickered off one by one, until only the soft hum of the refrigerator filled the silence. My parents helped gather the last few chairs, folding them in gentle, almost reverent silence. Lily had fallen asleep on the couch, clutching a half-eaten lollipop in her tiny hand. Her curls stuck to her forehead, and every few seconds she sighed, the kind of sound kids make when they feel completely safe. I watched my father drape a blanket over her. The gesture was simple, but it cracked something in me. Maybe it wasn't forgiveness yet, but it was a beginning. We said goodnight at the door. My mother hugged me longer than she ever had before. You did good, Grace, she whispered. You really did. After they left, I wandered back into the kitchen. The cake box still sat on the counter, the word congratulations glowing faintly under the overhead light. For a moment, I just stared at it. Then I smiled because I finally understood. That word wasn't about the bakery. It wasn't about success or money or some cosmic coincidence. It was about becoming. Mrs. Delaney once told me, The recipe for peace isn't what you lose, it's what you learn to make for yourself. And tonight, standing in my kitchen surrounded by deflated balloons and the echo of laughter, I realized I'd been making peace all along. I reached for the cake knife, cut a small slice, and whispered softly, "This one's for you, Mrs. D." The frosting was too sweet, the sponge a little dry, but it tasted like closure. I looked around at the quiet house, the half-packed party boxes, the smell of sugar in the air, my daughter sleeping just a few feet away. Everything I had once prayed for in the dark was right here, in the soft light of my own making. No grand applause. No perfect ending. Just peace, warm, earned, and real. As the camera of life panned out, I imagined what my voice would sound like if someone played this moment back later. Low, steady, proud. They said I couldn't have my cake, and eat it too, but all I ever wanted was to bake it myself. Fade to black. A single word stays glowing on the cake. Congratulations.